Welcome to My AI and I, the podcast where humanity meets technology. Today's episode, the $160 million AI chip heist. Welcome back to My AI and I, where Navi, my AI co-host, and I explore what's happening in artificial intelligence. I'm your host, and this week we've got a story that sounds like it's straight out of a spy movie, except it's real and it happened in Houston, Texas.
What's the story?
The Justice Department just busted a massive smuggling ring trying to ship $160 million worth of Nvidia AI chips to China. And I don't mean they just caught some guy with chips in his suitcase. This was Ocean's 11 level stuff. Fake companies, relabeled products, warehouses full of GPUs, wire transfers from China. The whole deal.
And this just happened?
They announced the bust on Monday, and then yesterday, Bloomberg drops another bombshell. Turns out a Chinese AI startup called DeepSeek was caught using smuggled banned Nvidia chips. So this isn't some theoretical problem. This is actively happening right now.
It does sound like a thriller, but I think people need context for why anyone would risk federal prison to smuggle computer chips.
Right, because when I was growing up, chip smuggling meant sneaking Doritos into the movie theater. Now we're talking about computer chips that are so valuable, so critical to the future of AI that people are literally running international crime rings to get them. So let's start with the basics. What are we actually talking about here? These aren't just any computer chips, right?
No, these are Nvidia's H100 and H200 GPUs, graphics processing units that are specifically designed for AI applications. The H100 has 80 billion transistors and can handle massive amounts of data processing. The H200, which is even newer, has 141 gigabytes of memory and is nearly twice as powerful for AI workloads.
Help me understand what that means in real terms. Why does China want these chips so badly?
These chips are what power modern AI. Every major AI breakthrough you've heard about, ChatGPT, image generators, voice assistants, they all run on chips like these. Without them, you can't train large language models, you can't run advanced AI systems at scale. They're the literal foundation of the AI revolution.
So it's not like they just make things go a little faster. You actually can't do cutting edge AI without them.
Exactly. To give you perspective, Elon Musk's XAI training cluster uses 100,000 H100 chips. Meta, OpenAI, Google, they all rely on these. China wants to be the world leader in AI by 2030, and right now they can't get the chips they need because of US export controls.
And that's the key thing here, right? These chips are restricted for export to China. This isn't just regular business. This is controlled technology.
The US government considers these chips critical to national security because they can be used for both civilian AI applications and military purposes. They can help design weapons, run advanced surveillance systems, and power supercomputers for weapons testing.
So walk me through how this actually worked. How do you smuggle $160 million worth of chips?
According to the Justice Department, there were multiple operations, but let me focus on the main one. A guy named Alan Howe Shu in Houston ran a company called Howe Global. Between October 2024 and May 2025, he and his associates tried to export at least $160 million worth of H100 and H200 chips.
How do you hide that? I mean, these aren't small items.
They falsified shipping paperwork. They misclassified what the goods actually were and concealed where they were really going. They set up fake companies. One was literally called SANDKYAN, which doesn't even exist. And they would remove Nvidia labels from the chips and rebrand them.
Wait, they were literally taking the Nvidia stickers off and putting on fake company labels?
Yes, they'd ship GPUs to US warehouses, have workers remove the Nvidia branding, slap on fake labels, and then prepare them for export. The paperwork would say they were generic computer parts going to customers in countries that don't require export licenses, but they were actually heading to China and Hong Kong.
That is so brazenly criminal, and they were getting paid how?
Wire transfers from China. How Global alone received over $50 million in China originated wire transfers. Another operation involved wire transfers totaling over $7 million from a Chinese company bank account.
So, this wasn't some small time operation. This was organized, well funded, and running at scale.
Absolutely. And there were multiple networks. The Justice Department arrested two other people, Benlin Yuan, who's CEO of a Virginia IT company that's actually a U.S. subsidiary of a Beijing firm, and Fan Yue Gong, a Chinese citizen living in Brooklyn who owned a New York tech company. They were running similar schemes independently.
Okay, so they caught these guys. Shu already pleaded guilty back in October, and he's facing up to 10 years when he gets sentenced in February. Yuan could get 20 years, Gong could get 10. But here's what I want to know. Was any of this stuff actually successful? Did chips get to China?
Yes, according to court documents, at least two shipments went through, including 400 Nvidia A100 chips sent to China between October 2024 and January 2025. Law enforcement disrupted two other shipments before they were completed, which included 10 Hewlett Packard Enterprise supercomputers loaded with H100 chips and another 50 H200 chips.
And then yesterday, we find out about DeepSeek.
Right? Bloomberg reported that DeepSeek, a Chinese AI startup, used smuggled Nvidia Blackwell chips, which are even more advanced and completely banned for export to China. According to the report, the chips were smuggled through other countries, installed in data centers, then dismantled and shipped to China after passing inspection.
So the smuggling didn't stop just because they arrested these guys in Houston. This is an ongoing black market.
It appears so. And here's what makes it even more complex. President Trump just announced that his administration would allow exports of H200 chips to China, but only to approved customers, and the U.S. government would get a 25% cut of the sales.
Wait, so we're busting people for smuggling chips while also saying we might sell them legally if we get our cut? That's some interesting timing.
The policy landscape is definitely complicated. On one hand, the U.S. wants to maintain its technological edge and prevent China from getting chips that could be used for military purposes. On the other hand, Nvidia needs customers, and China is a huge market.
Let's talk about the bigger picture here. Why should people care about computer chips being smuggled to China?
Because whoever controls AI technology is going to have enormous power in the coming decades. This isn't just about making better chatbots. AI is going into weapons systems, surveillance technology, autonomous vehicles, cybersecurity, economic forecasting, every major strategic technology of the future.
And these chips are the bottleneck. You can have all the AI researchers in the world, but without the hardware to run your models, you're stuck.
Exactly. China has been very open about wanting to be the world leader in AI by 2030. They're investing billions in the technology. But they're heavily dependent on US chips, particularly Nvidia's, because their domestic alternatives just aren't as good yet.
So, by controlling who gets these chips, the US is essentially controlling who can compete in the AI race.
That's the strategy. But as these smuggling cases show, where there's demand and money, people will find ways around the restrictions. These chips are so valuable that criminal networks are willing to risk serious prison time to move them.
And the stakes keep getting higher. I saw that Nvidia is even developing location tracking technology for their chips to prevent exactly this kind of smuggling.
Yes, it's still unreleased, but it would use the chip's computing capabilities to estimate what country they're operating in by measuring communication delays with NVIDIA servers. It's like GPS for GPUs.
That's wild. We've gone from export controls to actual tracking technology embedded in the hardware. It really is a tech Cold War. You know what I find kind of darkly funny about this whole situation? We're talking about artificial intelligence, This technology that's supposed to make everything smarter and more efficient. And meanwhile, actual humans are running around Houston stripping Nvidia labels off chips and slapping on stickers for fake companies.
The criminal creativity is impressive in a concerning way.
Right? Like they created a company called SANDKYAN. That's not even trying to sound real. And yet they moved millions of dollars through this operation.
It shows the tension between technology moving at lightning speed and human institutions trying to control it. The US creates export controls, China desperately needs chips, and entrepreneurs, both legitimate and criminal, try to find ways around the restrictions.
And while all this is happening, we've got Trump saying, okay, maybe we'll sell you the chips, but we want 25% of the money. It's like watching a geopolitical game of poker where the stakes are the future of artificial intelligence.
And everyone's all in.
So, where does this go from here? Are we going to see more of these smuggling cases?
Almost certainly. The demand for advanced AI chips isn't going away, it's only increasing. As long as there's a significant price difference and strategic advantage between legally obtaining chips and smuggling them, these networks will exist.
And Nvidia is in an interesting position. On one hand, they want to sell chips to everyone because that's how they make money. On the other hand, they have to comply with US export controls and national security concerns.
They're caught in the middle. They're working with the government to prevent smuggling, developing tracking technologies, and trying to stay compliant. But they're also watching billions in potential revenue get locked behind export controls.
The other thing that strikes me is how this shows what AI has become. 5 years ago, nobody would risk 20 years in prison to smuggle GPUs. Now, these chips are so valuable that organized crime networks treat them like drugs or weapons.
And that tells you something about where we are in the AI revolution. These aren't just expensive pieces of hardware, they're strategic assets that nations compete over. The chips that power AI have become as important as oil was in the 20th century.
Except you can't drill for GPUs. You have to manufacture them. And right now, there's only a handful of companies in the world that can make the most advanced ones.
Exactly. And you can't just go drill for more GPUs.
So here's the bottom line. People are going to prison for smuggling computer chips. Chinese companies are getting caught using them anyway. And meanwhile, Trump's negotiating a cut of the deal. The wildest part? This is just getting started. That's it for this week. If this kind of story, the real stuff happening behind the AI hype, interests you, hit subscribe because trust me, it only gets weirder from here. See you next week.
Hey everyone, if you liked this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Thank you.